Let's get the going. Okay, I'll say 3, 2, 1, and then after 1, I'll clap. You say clap. Okay. Oh god. Okay, 3, 2, 1.
Clap.
Oh,
I think that's close enough.
Oh god. Oh man, that's a good start. You already got me.
I mean, I've had that issue when I'm recording like a podcast or something, and everyone claps because I used to push to talk. They'll just hear silence from me. Like, did he clap? Yeah, I clapped.
Oh god, the volume of your clap, that threw me off.
Yeah, I wanted it to be an actual spike. You could easily see on the audio.
I can't tell the difference between my laughing and your clap, though.
It'll be fine. You'll see a big in the middle of it.
Oh god, I hadn't even started properly, and I'm already dying. Oh,
It's fine.
Hello and welcome to Searching for Pixels. My guest today joined YouTube in December 2011. He currently has 13 million views on his channel, 164,000 subscribers, and over $2,500 a month on Patreon. It is none other than MandaloreGaming. How are you today, sir?
I'm pretty alright. I didn't know I had that many channel views, but...
Yeah, I had to update it because we had a bit of delay with this video, but every time I've checked back, it keeps going up and up and up. I think last time I checked, you had 12.7 million views. Now you're at 13, and you're up to 1,000 subscribers. So you're
That's
still
pretty
ticking
alright.
upwards.
Yeah.
And doing very, very well. So would you mind introducing yourself to our lovely listeners, please? Just a quick introduction.
Sure. I make game review videos like many other people on YouTube. I started doing games that I thought were very niche or very out of the way. I would look up a video on whatever game was kind of obscure, and it would be a very poor quality video. It might be someone talking like on a headset mic. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't... I don't want to say they were bad because they were trying their hardest, but they just weren't doing the game's justice when it's like one long take of something. And like, this is EVE Online. I don't really know how to play it, but it's like maybe I could do that a little better. It's like so I just tried to do games that were out of the way, and just saying, I'll put some production effort into it. Well, not like a ton of production effort, but more than was available. And then people ended up liking it, and I said, I'll take suggestions. And so I got really strange suggestions for videos, but I decided to do them anyways, and I've just kept it going.
Very, very nice. Yeah, like you said, most of your videos are the reviews, the vast majority.
Oh yeah.
You have got a few that I've found that aren't reviews that I'd be quite interested to see a resurgence of, particularly the Commander Shepard music video.
Oh yeah, that was that 2012, 2011? Yeah, that was that was by a guy named Gavin Dune, Miracle of Sound. He went on to work for the Escapist. I don't think he works them anymore since they... I don't know his exact situation, but I talked to him. We talked on over Twitter fairly recently. I want to say 3 or so months ago. And yeah, his whole thing was that he would make music for video games, but it would all be original music. And so I saw one of those that he made, but he didn't have music videos before. And it was just a still image. I was like, I can match up some footage of that. And this is actually a re-uploaded version of it. The one I had before was nearly 1 million views. It was going pretty up there, and he used it to get into the Escapist. But then he got like an official music video guy there. But yeah, that ended up working out pretty well for both of us. I mean, he ended up doing music full time, and my fun little joke video was a one-off thing.
Mm-hmm.
So probably not any sequels anytime soon.
And so I said that you started your YouTube in December 2011. did you, before your Mandalore Gaming channel, do you have any other videos or any other content out before that that is maybe hidden away or no longer available?
Oh
Was this,
yeah,
your initial start.
my very first YouTube videos were I can't remember the name of the account, but I was making Dawn of War YouTube poops. I it must have been ages ago, probably shortly after YouTube was around. Like, did it launch in 2005? I think. I don't know the exact year. But
YouTube.
Yeah,
Oh,
I think
God,
I think it was around 2005. But I was probably making these in 08, 07.
Okay.
But these were like Windows Movie Maker. Like these were. YouTube was never a focus anything until fairly recently. Like between like when we started with the channel started in 2011, I was like, it did, because I guess in my mind it's like 3 years old, 2 or 3 years old.
Yeah, I mean, I did say 2011 because that was based off the initial
Oh,
Commander Shepard video.
Yeah, of course.
But for say your continued content, you're looking at about 2 to 3 years ago with the Division, your Division review. This seems like the starting point of, say, the regular upload schedule, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I had another video on the on Star Wars: The Old Republic, but that got a bunch of that got some YouTube copyright issues, to the point where it had like some sections or like, this audio's been claimed, we're going to mute it worldwide. And I removed the audio out of it, but it was still marking the entire video as like it was still saying it was there even though I was removing it. Mm-hmm. I uploaded it like without the audio entirely, but whatever YouTube track ID or whatever inside of it was still seeing the file as like a similar. It was still flagging it down as something, so I couldn't for the life of me fix it.
Okay, and there's no way to get that back up now.
Basically, I mean, I'm sure if I edited a bunch of it and just tweaked it around and made it a different video.
Yeah.
But yeah, at that point it was like I was getting people messaging me saying like, "Why is it muted?" And it's like, "Oh, well, I'll take it down for now." But even then, that was probably 6 years ago, 5-6 years ago. Not super reflective of what I make now. I think some people will be like, "Oh my god, like this is." It's more making fun of the game. It wasn't like there was barely any objectivity at all. It was just like, "Oh, this is a trash fire." It was me and some friends going, "Let's just make fun of this because this is so bad." And there's still a bit of that bleeding in with the Division video, a little bit. That was kind of like the transitional period, I guess. But yeah, it was people who think there's like, oh, there's like this great secret. There's another great review video out there. It's like, not really. It's making fun of it. It's not. It's not like the videos that are out now.
Yeah. One of the classics. What's your process for making your videos? Say you've got an idea. You want to do a video about fear, for example. I'll just say
right.
Fear.
Yeah.
How do you go about making that product that you finally upload?
Okay, first is is I decide on the game, and how I do that is I used to do them from YouTube comments, but as the channel's gotten bigger, that's been getting harder and harder to do, even though I still do scan through those. But there's like a Discord channel where people post suggestions. I look on Twitter, I look on email, and people will just send me these games. They'll talk about these games. They'll usually be really off ones. About 3 or 4 times a week, I'll get a title I've never heard of in my life, and I get to look up what it's about. And I have a big Google Doc which has a few hundred games on it at this point. And if I see
100?
Oh yeah, it's
Jeez.
I'll paste this for posterity / video description. But yeah, there's the list, and I keep them all down, and I'll put little notes on them like what people told me about it or what I know about it or if it's something I've played before. And then when the time comes, because there's this thing on YouTube where you have to find a balance between like, I want to make a video on this, but I want it to be something I'm in the mood for, but I don't want to force myself to make a video. And so my brain's kind of genre focused. I might be like, I'm in the mood to play an RTS game this week, or I want to play a spooky FPS game this week. So then what I do is, okay, I'm going to open up the list that has all these games on it, and I'm going to find a bunch of these that like fit that criteria. Like, what are some games I'd want to play? And so I could go look at that, and if I'm tossed up like, oh, I don't know if I want to do this one or this one, I could just throw up a poll on like Twitter and Patreon and wherever and see what people are interested in seeing. Yep. So it's like that way I still have people putting input into what video I'll be doing, but at the same time I'm not being forced into doing something by popular demand. It's like it's like all these were suggested by people, but I get to narrow it down to a little pool depending on what mood I'm in, saying like, okay, here you go. Like I'd like to do one of these this week.
Okay. So you're more take like the opinions of others into consideration rather than being like forced to do something.
Yeah, because you might get those people at the start of the video where it's like, I don't want to do a video on this game, but everyone was telling me to. It's like, yeah, I don't want to do that.
Yeah. Yeah, so, you don't want to do it. They probably don't want to listen to someone complaining that they have to play a game.
Yeah, basically, like, if you're miserable making it, it's probably not going to turn out well. It's like I'm being forced to, it's a video game. If you go into the mood like I'm not going to have fun, I hate this, and you're not going to get as much out of it. So, yeah, so that's how the game gets picked.
Very nice. Because I was speaking to people like Only Black Mage. There was Rags. I think Racervic as well. And some of them said that they don't... A lot of the times they have multiple projects going on the go. Would you only ever focus on one thing? Would you also, say, have 2 or 3 ideas floating around playing a few games?
I would sometimes have ideas floating around, but until recently, I just did not have the hard drive space. For a long time, I've had a like 256 gig drive.
Oh, wow.
Which was realistically, 180 after OS stuff. But it would be just like I didn't have hard drive space for it. And I did that a little bit back in, I don't remember when it came out, maybe August. No, I was moving. It was July. I did a mod video. So it's like, oh, I'm working on like Gothic, which is a longer RPG game. And so it's like, well, I'm doing that. I'll also do a video on a mod. Because I figured that it would be like a shorter, don't have to put as much thought into criticism, like it'll be an easier thing to do. But it turns out that figuring out the process for I don't want to say new series, but for a different kind of video, it's like, oh yeah, that was a little different. So it's like I went and I interviewed the mod creator, and then you have an hour and a half of audio from both our ends. It's like I have to get the audio engineer to clean it up. It's okay, which parts of the audio do I clip out and put in the video? What should I highlight in it? It shouldn't be too short to be low effort, but it shouldn't be as long as the regular videos, or that defeats the point of it. So it's finding a sweet spot, and it's like, okay, I need to basically learn a whole new process for it. So I want it to be similar to the regular videos because, obviously people are there to see the game reviews. So I want it to feel similar to that, but at the same time, also be able to reel it back and not be as complicated, I guess. It's hard to put into words.
Yeah, I understand what you mean. Like, I think you showed it quite well in your Dawn of War. I think was it Ultimate Apocalypse?
Yeah, that was the one.
Yeah. That was a very interesting video. Man, that's a straight up whole new game. That is.
Yeah,
Ultimate.
It's insane what they did with that. But yeah, so it's like you have something that complicated, and it's like, oh great, like I need to show this. I need to do just this justice. But at the same time, I can't be going crazy with it. It's like, how do I streamline this without making it too simple? I want the Call of Duty audience. So it's like And so it ended up being longer than I hoped, but
Hmm.
process-wise, I'm hoping I can narrow it down a little bit more in the future.
Okay, and so let's say, for argument's sake, you've decided, okay, I'm going to do a video. I've decided now I'm going to do a video on fear. This week I feel like playing a Matrix-inspired action horror game.
Right.
What do you do then?
All right. This usually depends on the length of the game. For something like Fear, actually, I could just talk about what I did when I played Fear because that makes it easy. I fired it up. I played Fear.
Yeah.
And I always have my so I use Shadowplay for recording. I always have it on, but there's like I know you use OBS, but there's a Shadowplay function that I'm sure other video recorders have, where you can just press a button like F. I use mine F11, and it'll automatically record the past X minutes of gameplay. And I set mine for 30 seconds. So the first time I'll play through a game, I'll usually have that on in the background. And so if something wild happens, or there's a bug or something that's like something I'm probably going to see once, I'll go, oh, and I'll press that button. So it's like, oh, that man's head flew through the window and splattered on the wall. I might not see that again. I'll press F11. And then it's like, okay, I've played through the game. And then I'll usually go back and I'll play it a second time. But that time I'll usually have the Shadowplay in like a more active state.
Yep.
Where it's like I'll have the little like the little recording icon in the corner. And so if I'm getting something specific, like here's how that's when I'm treating it more like I'm filming something. Like, okay, I'm going to talk about weapons, so I'm going to stare at this gun, press F10, pick up gun, reload it, then like press F10 again to stop recording. That way, like the first time I run through a game, ideally I'm not treating it like something that I'm filming the whole time. It's hard to put into words. I'm trying to just play the video game the first time through. And if I see something and I go, oh shit, that'd be really good footage, I could just press the button.
Gotcha.
But then the second time through, it's like, okay, now that I'm all caught up with it, now I can go through and just press buttons and get the footage since I know what I want. And yeah, and I could do that without feeling guilty, like I'm treating the game like it's not a game.
Mm-hmm. So by that time, so say you're getting that footage ready, have you already written your script and you're getting specific things for the video?
Not really. I might have a like an outline. From time to time, I might take like notebook paper, just take like or a pad and have it, and I might jot some things down that I want to make sure I remember, like this doesn't make sense, or why does that do that? And it's usually not long. I don't think I've ever had any that go over a page. I've had most of the time it's way shorter than that. It's just more like things that I don't want to slip my mind and forget about. Because I still have that happen with a few videos where it's like, oh, I forgot to talk about that. It's usually something minor, like a 10-second thing, but it's like, oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah, I get what you mean. At the moment, personally, I'm trying to do a video on time shift. Don't know if you've ever.
Oh my god, yes, I have.
Yeah, I'm writing up a video on that right now, which it's interesting. The problem is, like, my memories of time shift is that the single player's middling at best.
Yeah, it was
the multiplayer was amazing.
The multiplayer was fun with the like the time grenades. I don't remember what they called them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's so good, but I'm struggling so much to get a group together. I found one person on Reddit who's got it.
Yeah, so, you can hit me up for that.
Oh, that'd be great.
I might get time shift multiplayer footage too to store away for some time. It's like, yeah, that might be the first time shift game in many years.
Yeah. Oh god. So let's say you've taken your footage, you've written the outline, you play through the game. How long would it take you to say put all your thoughts down onto paper and get the script ready to go for recording?
Okay, here's the part a lot of people don't like.
Okay.
I don't have a script.
What?
Yeah, people don't like that when I say that.
Wow. Okay,
the video was written during editing.
Wow, that's very interesting. So you'd put I don't even know how that would work.
Okay, people, how this was born was when I first started to do the regular upload schedule. I was like, because I'd see people who are making like $5,000 on Patreon, and they would do like, they do like their every 2 months, I'll make a video, and it's like I bet I could do that in 2 weeks. And so every 2 weeks, I was like, okay, my challenge is every 2 weeks I'll try to put up a game review of something.
Yep.
Of course, I was running ragged by the end, but I went for it. And then I realized doing that was, I don't really have time to sit down and write a script because I was still in school, I was working a job. It's like I don't have time to do this. I just need to sit down and talk about the game. And so what ended up happening was I would have a few things I would know I'd want to say, and I kind of have like the outline in my head. But it would be I'd sit down, like at the editor, just pull up Audacity and start recording, a few paragraphs, and then, or maybe a few sentences, and then like stop, and then put up the footage. But the thing with that is that it's a pain in the ass to do when you're because it's kind of like you're making it all at once. Like you don't. If you have a script, you get the audio, and you just slap it on. They could go through your footage and put it wherever you want. But when you do it like that, it takes longer, but I could be a lot more dynamic with it. Because when you have a script, like you can insert parts in, but if you've recorded it in one condition, you have to worry about like, oh, it's been 4 days and my voice might sound different, or maybe I didn't drink as much today. It's like, will that sound off compared to the rest of the audio?
Yeah.
And so it's like, if I need to change something or I forget something, it's like, oh, okay, I'm right here. I can just shift things around. Or, oh, the next part, I haven't even done that yet, so I can just do this now. Like, from time to time, I'll record different sections and put them together. Like, I might know for sure what to say about audio, and then just record all the audio stuff, and then like move it off to the side and say, okay, now I'll do this other stuff here. But where it comes in handy is when I'm going through footage trying to match it up, is I sometimes might see something really stupid that I missed when I was actually playing the game. Like, in the last video for Arcs, there was this pig, and the pig was glitching out like crazy into a tree and vibrating like at 1,000 miles per hour, just sitting there violently shaking. And I'm going through footage, and I see that, and I just go, while I was recording, I'm like, oh, I could just keep that in. And so it's like, if I just see something stupid like that, I could kind of seamlessly put it into the video. And it's like, oh yeah, that's not like off the flow or anything, because there's no script. This is being made up as it goes along.
Yeah. Oh god, this is amazing. Like, I'm trying to picture it in my head, like I'm trying to picture me doing that, and I can't even fathom it.
Yeah, most people.
I've talked to. It's very interesting.
Kind of, yeah, because I've talked to people who like I know Avery well. I guess Shammy TV, whatever he is on YouTube now. Like he will spend like weeks on scripts, so hearing that drives him nuts. But he'll be like, oh, your delivery sounds like really natural. Like it sounds like you're just some guy telling me about the game. It's like, well, that's kind of what's happening. Like that's the payoff for it. He's like, yeah, it sounds like it doesn't sound like you're scripted. It kind of sounds like you're just talking about it naturally. It's like, well, that's what's happening.
Yeah.
Like there's it's been a long time since I had like even when I had time to write like a script, it would only be a few paragraphs at a time, and I was still improvising a lot of it anyways. And so it was like, I'll just kind of cut it out and I'll just wing it. Of course, in the earlier videos, you can see where it's where that was detrimental, but it was something I improved on. Like in the EVE Online video, I actually can't stand watching it anymore because in the first, I actually had a translator who was doing captions. So I knew I was saying the word like a lot, like, it's like this, it's like that. And he said, oh, in the first he's like, in the first 15 minutes of the video, you said the word like 29 times. But then in the second half of the video, you set it 0 times. And
Oh,
I was
wow.
like, oh, okay. Because that was, going off of Wing, it's like, when I'm new to it, it was like, I don't know, it's like this, it's like that. But even like, I was improving throughout the video because it was, I was improving my dialogue throughout the video. And so by the end, I'd stop doing that. But the beginning was still like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I just didn't really notice it until I put on YouTube later. And I was like, wait a minute, something's off. So it's like you could see this real-time thing of like, fuck, I'm doing it now.
He's getting better.
Yeah. It's like, oh, he stopped saying it so much. What's happening? It's like, oh, you're watching the writing process getting improved in real time.
Oh god, that's great. Speaking of the EVE Online video, there was like you saying you don't write a script. It's very surprising. It's very interesting. And it works very well for you. But some of the jokes that you have in your videos, they crack me up so much. It's so funny. Are they just improvised on the spot, like the humor that you have going on?
Yeah, most of them. 'Cause it's like, when I've realized that I can't really force humor into things.
Uh-huh.
I was talking to someone else about this today, actually. And he was saying, because I always talk about how I struggle to put humor into something if I legitimately find it interesting. Like, something like, if I play a game like Darkwood, I might say, like, oh shit. 'Cause it's like, I really find this interesting. Like, this might be a drier video.
Mm-hmm.
And he was saying, well, what you do is you look at something normally and then you try to extract something, see if there's any humor to extract from it. And if not, don't touch it. And that's kind of how I decided to do it. Okay. But sometimes a lot of the jokes come from just staring at the editor for a long time. Because a lot of people say, like, I'll do, I guess, comparisons. Because when you're staring at something for long enough, you start to get really warped views of it. So you might say, like, oh, that's a really colorful background, like really, really vibrant skybox. And after a while, I'm like, oh, the sky looks like Trix yogurt. People are like, where do you come up with that? It's like, when we keep staring at it, you stop really seeing it for what it is.
Yeah.
So people are like, it seems so off the cuff. It's like, it is. It's like, this wasn't prepared in advance. That's why it's just sitting there. It's like, that's kind of funny. I'll put that in.
The one thing that made me laugh, almost killed me, man, in particular, was when you, I think it was EVE Online, it could have been Star Citizen, you used a soundtrack from Jet Set Radio. And it was, like, I think it was Everybody Jump Around.
Oh, yeah. I think that was...
I don't know why, but that almost killed me, man. Oh,
I think that was Star Citizen. So I think that was when Chris Roberts was jumping on the screen, but I don't remember.
Yeah. Oh god, and you have got a very, like, looking through the soundtracks you use on your videos. You've got Jet Set Radio quite a lot. I saw Metal Gear Solid pop up a few times.
Mm.
I think there was some Sonic the Hedgehog, maybe. I can't quite remember. But say you need to get music for your videos. Do you just know that there's a track like that in your head? You think, this Metal Gear Solid soundtrack from Sons of Liberty would be great right now.
Yeah, usually it's like that. But I've also tried to avoid. There's like a few music tracks I'd be okay just using for every video forever. And it's like, well, I need to break it up a little bit, so I need to switch them out for variety's sake.
Mm-hmm.
But usually I'll have it's something in my head, and I'll be like, yep, that'll work there. Okay. But yeah, like I said, I will go and change it up just to have something different for the sake of having something different. Because there was some point I must have used. I haven't used Jet Set Radio music recently. Mm-hmm. But a lot of the time, they're usually, sometimes the music hints at other videos to come.
Oh.
Which is, okay. A lot of videos have, like, call-outs to other games that I've done videos on since. And so from time to time, I'll be like, I've been wanting to do a video on whatever game this year. I might just put a track from that game, and then 5 months later, that comes out. Yeah, I'll have tiny little mentions like, oh, this is, what is this, like Empire Earth? And then, yeah, so there's a higher chance of me doing a video on a game that's been in some way mentioned in one of the earlier videos even if it's just like a screenshot or a yeah, like in the War of the Ring video, I had a thing talk about stealth suits. Like, oh god, like I hate these stealth units. And then a few months later, there was a Dawn of War video.
Yeah, it all comes full circle. I'll
Yeah.
have to go back to your was it Arc Fatalis? I think was your most recent one.
Yes.
I'll have to go back and see where the hidden hints are in that one. I can't quite remember.
I might have a more blatant one in an upcoming video, just because it's a it'll probably be out by the time this is up, but it's on the Call of Cthulhu game, the Dark Corners of the Earth,
Oh,
and I'm just gonna talk about time distortion, and then I'm gonna just cut to a different section, just cut to like a different section of a future video, and have it for about 4 seconds, and then go back. And I'm just going to have that section of the video in however many months it comes out.
And so you've been doing this for a few years now. Was there a particular video that, say, was your favorite to make? Anyone that stands out that the process of making it for you was particularly engaging or fun or interesting?
I have had a ton of fun with so many of them. I want to say that my favorite was probably War of the Ring. There's so many reasons. One was that the game was just colorful, so that during editing it was really pleasant to look at it, because I could tell by the little like recorded thumbnails, like, oh, that's green, that must be good faction gameplay. Oh, that one's red, that must be bad. It's just like, oh, it's a really colorful game. This is fun to look at.
Yeah, my first note on, I've got a little document here with like questions to ask and notes. My first note here is Mandalore likes colorful games.
Yeah.
So even I wrote that down.
Yeah, exactly. And so I saw that and it's like, oh, that's great. It's like, it's a really vibrant game. Mm-hmm. But then it had problems. But they weren't game-breaking problems. They were just weird problems. And that's the best kind of bug to have in your game. Like, not something that's like, oh, it's going to break it, but just something that's odd. Like, oh, there's these 3 swordsmen in the swamp. And for some reason, they don't have heads or upper torsos. No one else in the game is like that. Just these 3 guys. Or it's like, the map rotates one way, but the map goes another in the corner. Just like really strange occurrences like that. Like, I love those when those happen in games.
Yeah.
Because it's like, this is kind of funny to deal with, but I know it's going to be fun in the video. Because people are going to be like, what is this? Like, how does that happen? Mm-hmm. Compared to something that's like, oh, I can't get the game to start and I have to actually work on this for a while and try to get it running. Mm-hmm. And yeah, plus it's like, I like Lord of the Rings. And I know most people, me included, were playing like Battle for Middle-earth, or those like, what are they called? They were on the console, like they were co-op games. I think they're just named after movies, like Two Towers, Return of the King.
God, what was it?
I think they were just called Lord of the Rings, like Two Towers, Return of the King.
Yeah,
I think they just named them.
Return of the King was the PS2.
Yeah, exactly. Because you could play those, and people are like, "Wow, we have great memories of those games, and they had such a great RTS game." And it's like, well, a lot of you guys don't know about this one. The one that the Tolkien estate tricked people into getting. It's like the movies were hot, and it's like, oh, they were not New Line Cinema licensed. These were just made by the estate. And so they'd be advertised, and people would get them. And it's like, what is this? This isn't what I saw on the TV. But then I put the video up, and a lot more people were like, oh yeah, I got tricked by this too.
Oh, that's great. And was there a video that you... I think I probably know your answer to this one, but one that you didn't enjoy as much to make?
I want to say Star Citizen, but I know it's probably not really.
Mm-hmm.
Only because, like, I was fine working on that, but at the same time, like, I knew there would be a That might be the one I regret the most. Not because it's like I hated anything particularly in the video, but just because it's had such a long tail, and I'm so unhappy with that. Like, it's been well over 2 years, and people are still citing that video and people will message me like, "When are you gonna make the sequel to it?" And it
no.
still gets like every so often I'll get a boost of comments on it because someone linked it on a forum somewhere, and then I get mails asking about it. And the problem is, I haven't been closely following the project for the past however long it's been.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just realizing that the community is so, for the most part, anti. They're so against criticizing the company.
Yeah.
That this 2-year-old video is still being considered relevant by people there. Like, there's been so much that's happened since, but I guess finding a balanced take on that is hard. I know that there's a channel called Charlatan Wonder who did a video on it about 2-3 months ago, and he asked me for a few questions like to answer for it, so he could put a featuring the title. And I was like, cool, it's like I could kind of do the sequel video but not actually have to make it, and he could do it.
Yeah, just link him to that guy.
Yeah, I thought that'd stop it, but it didn't. But I tried.
Good. I think they about a week ago or a few days ago, I think they released a single player to Star Citizen, or they released something.
I saw they released a trailer for the single player.
Was it a trailer? Oh, right.
Yeah, which is, but at the same time, it's like 2 years ago, I talked about their single player trailer as well. It's like 2 years ago they said it was coming out next year.
Yeah,
and now it's 2 years later and it's coming out next year. It's always next year basically, and that was my main gripe with it, which is kind of the reason I didn't want to do an update video, because people would ask, "Oh, you should update," and it's like it's more of the same. It's more of, hey, they're behind schedule on this. They're saying it's going to come out next year. It's always coming out next year. It's like details have changed, but for the most part, this is the exact same thing as before.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it sounds like Star Citizen's just become baggage for you at this point. Like, you can't get rid of it.
Sort of.
It's always
Actually,
following
I take that back. The video I hated working on the most was the not even hated, but it was the Aurora 4X video.
That's what I was going to say. Is that basically like a spreadsheet?
Yeah, that was the one that looks like Microsoft Access.
Yeah.
Only because when you have like a bunch of recorded footage, you could just, enlarge the thumbnails and say like, oh, I know what that's from. I know what part of the game's that's from. And then I was like, okay, I got all my Aurora footage. And then I opened up the folder, and it's just like this wall of white and blue. Dozens of files. They just have dates in them. It's like, oh, great. Yeah. And I need to open up every single one and squint at it to see what's happening in this clip.
That did not look like an easy game to get into. And I think you described it yourself, like every other game, even if it's been tricky to get into, even like Eve or Star Citizen or whatever, at least you've managed to figure it out. But Aurora just seems so tedious.
Yeah, it's like I could figure it out, but there would be so many inconsistencies. Like, oh, this window will ask you to confirm this action, and you click yes. This one, you click a button, and the screen won't move, but something did happen. And so it's like sometimes they'll say, "Are you sure you want to do this thing?" Sometimes you do the thing, and it doesn't ask you; it just sits there. It's like, did that work? Oh, it did.
Yeah, and it's to say, even with your video on, was it Limbo of the Lost?
Yeah, that was a fun one.
That was like that was a long video. That was like over 40 minutes, I think.
Yeah, that was the longest video by far.
And that was all still improvised. All that 40 minutes.
Yep. The only part that wasn't really improvised was the well, it still halfway was, but it was talking about the history of Captain Briggs.
Okay.
People thought I was joking, but I actually had a guy who works in naval history. He's working in Washington now, and he was actually getting naval records to find out what the fuck was happening. So when I was like, oh, I had my naval expert look at it, that wasn't a joke. He's a good friend.
Oh god, a naval expert spending his time Limbo of the Lost video.
Yeah, he usually does actual Navy history, Caribbean and all that. So I'm like, hey, do you know where I could get some records, what the ship was carrying when it was scuttle, like, can you find the convention to see like who it got sent to after salvage? And so he looked up all this stuff and saw the cargo. I was looking like journals that researchers are doing on how they thought the ship sunk. And so I had all that with me.
Scrolls.
Yeah, exactly. And so I was like, oh, I could see all the like denatured alcohol and all that. It's like, okay, I have all the info here. Like, am I going to make a script? No, I'll just tell them what I learned. It's like, they're fortifying alcohol. It was just peasant wine. It couldn't have exploded. They're all idiots.
Treasure buried here, big X.
Yeah, like if I was doing a game theory video, I would have written a script and made it really compelling. But I just didn't. I just kind of said what I found. Like, well, these guys are liars. Like, the mystery's solved. Like, like, I'm not gonna leave any mystery. It's basically already solved. Everyone's just pretending.
Oh God, that's amazing. Who would have thought? Oh jeez.
Yeah. So I was watching that.
God.
I don't know if you remember, but there was like this clip from the History Channel where like there's new compelling evidence about the fate of the ship. It's like the first mate's wife had a dream, and she dreamed that her husband was murdered at sea. It's like that's why they're not confirming it, so they can sell these shows.
Oh God, yeah. There's no evidence to say it didn't happen.
Exactly. The first mate's wife had a dream that he was murdered at sea the very night the ship went missing.
Oh God. Oh, the History Channel, amazing. Oh.
Yeah.
Oh God, I hope you've got friends in like aviation and stuff as well.
A few.
You find some crash tests.
Oh God.
Oh my God.
Do a DCS video and have. I actually rode in a real F-16 today to compare the flight controls.
Oh really?
No, I'm being hypothetical.
Okay. Oh God.
Just build inside of a cockpit and compare it to the simulation game.
Oh, too gullible. Oh, Jesus Christ, you made me laugh too much. Oh, man. Oh, God, okay, next question before I die. So that was you've had your most fun one to make. You've had the one that was Lord of the Rings. You had the one that wasn't particularly as fun, was Aurora.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a video that... I mean, you sent me a link to your spreadsheet of these, literally, I'm looking at it now, hundreds of games.
Mm-hmm. Is
there anyone that you want to do, but for some reason aren't able to? For whatever reason?
I've gotten that question a lot. There's a bunch that are, it's mainly console games.
Right.
There's like Metal Arms, Glitch in the System. There's... Yeah, what is it? Their PS2 game. They're King Arthur something. Legion Legend of Excalibur. That was the PS2 game. But yeah, there's a bunch of console games. And it's just because most people would say just do emulation, but I do want to do it on a capture card. And I actually am working on that. That's the current project right now, is I'm comparing capture devices to get that worked with. But yeah, it's mainly just console games just because they're recording them. That it's just a technical stop, really. So I was stressed about doing a what's the funny mech game? Metal Wolf Chaos. That was the one I wanted to do, but it's like you couldn't really emulate it because it was OG Xbox. But then they announced they're doing a PC version this year, so it's like, oh, that's solved. Because that was the big one for a while, was that because it was only on Xbox.
Right, got you. Oh wow, very interesting. I mean, so you looking at your videos. I mean, they are mostly, I'd say, the classic games, the older ones, or a particular genre, RPGs.
Mm-hmm.
In your spare time, are you playing anything that's more modern, or is there anything that say like Overwatch or anything like that, or is it mostly focusing on these older games, even in your spare time?
I mean, it depends. In my spare time, it could be playing an older game.
Yep.
It could also be something newer. Like I have Well, I haven't played with them probably in the past week. I have a group, my EVE Online group. We still play a lot of games together. It could be, oh god, we were playing like Vermintide a month ago. Then we were playing. I think they're playing like original RuneScape right now, or they're playing something like that. So they might be playing Vermintide. Then people might be playing. We tried Realm Royale before Hi-Rez did Hi-Rez and destroyed it. Then after that, we did like, let's fire up some like MMO emulators. Like let's play Star Wars Galaxies. Let's play some Age of Reckoning. And so we'll just go all over the place. I mean, the modern game I probably have the most, my ear on the most probably is just Total War Warhammer. I play a lot of that game. Like
first one or second one?
I guess second, because for the way they did it was that one kind of folds into two.
Right.
I'm trying to think of how to describe it. They had like the map in one, but if you own 1 and 2, the maps combine. And so it's one of the few games where you get stuff added onto it when you get the sequel.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like once you have that, you don't have a ton of reason to go back and play 1, because it basically carries most of the stuff over.
Okay. Oh. And how's everything in... Because you moved house recently, I believe, didn't you? In the past couple of weeks or something like that? Very recently?
Yeah, I started moving in early August. I've been settled a few weeks, but it was a longer process than I thought.
Because when I originally I sent you a message on Twitter, saying if you wanted to come along and have a chat, and I think it's something like, sorry for the delay, there's been a tornado.
The hurricane, yeah.
And I was like, what? Like that's very like inane to me, because in England, I think maybe like once a year we have a storm. We never get tornadoes or hurricanes, and we have a strong storm that they give a name like Storm Bernadette or something to make it sound menacing.
You get your rain like divvied out throughout the entire year, just constantly.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, summer is a week, not a season for us, unfortunately.
Yeah, the hurricane was unusual for here too. It wasn't a regular occurrence. I think the last hurricane we had make landfall here was, I think, in 1999, but I'm not sure. No. It was like 89, correction. See, it was the state was kind of panicking to the point where utilities were going out, but the storm hadn't hit yet, because they were doing like preparations for like, we're gonna reinforce this grid, and like we're gonna move power here. It's like there might be some like problems in the system because we're getting everything prepared, and then it didn't really hit that hard here anyways. And so it's like, well, okay. It was more of just like utilities breaking down and needing to move people around.
Mm-hmm.
So it ended up being more of a hassle than an actual wind, flood, and hail.
Mm-hmm.
Which happened, but not nearly as bad as people were expecting.
Which state is this in?
North Carolina.
Okay, I'll have to Google map that, because my American geography is
it was one of the colonies. Don't worry.
Okay, one of them. Yeah,
that's all that matters.
Oh, good. So that's all. You're all settled now. Everything's fine. Everything's going well.
Yeah, it's actually a brand new place, which is nice. But at the beginning, there was a very strange like paint smell. And one of the moving delays was that I went to lock my door, and the door would not relock ever again. It uses kind of like a Jurassic Park like electronic lock. I don't know how to put it.
Okay.
It's one of those things where like you scan a key fob on it, and it
fancy.
It closes. They do that at first. It's like, oh, fancy, and then I realized that they do that so no one can pick the lock, because it's just like flat. Mm-hmm. At the same time, that means you can't manually lock it either, because it's all electronic.
Mm-hmm.
And I found out that they had put the doors in, and then they took out the knob, and then they installed the electronic knobs like into them, and they could get them. They installed them closed, but they never decided to just test, unlocking it and locking it. So the first time I unlocked the door, it took me a good 20 minutes to actually pry it open, and then it never locked again. So I had to call the office, like, we'll have maintenance come later. And so I had to sit on the stuff for a few days. And then maintenance came to fix it. And by fixing it, he took a grinder to the keyhole to the lock hole. Like sparks were everywhere. It took him 15 seconds. He just grinded it wider and he said, "It's fixed," and he left. And then now it fits. So it's like, well, I could have done that myself if you had just told me that was what he was going to do.
Oh god, that's great. And so is it all a professional setup now? Because I was looking at your Twitter and I think you uploaded a picture of a monitor on like a piece of a cardboard box. And
professional is a really strong word. I'm looking above the monitor and I see a lot of staples, but yeah, you can get professional installation that would make it look really aesthetic and it would be really lined up and beautiful, but that's not what happened. There's a lot of there's the wall of foam, but there's a lot of pins to them all together. I don't know if you ever saw the movie Jeepers Creepers with all the bodies on the walls, but it kind of looks like that, but it's foam. Okay. Where like there's some adhesive keeping it to the wall, but it's also they're kind of pinned together so they can't fall off easily.
Oh god.
So it's like I didn't want to, because most people would say, use like stick adhesive, and it's like, well, I don't want to damage the walls because I'm renting it, and I don't want to get giant nails. And so it's like, okay, I'll get a bunch of command hooks, and I'll get a bunch of T-pins, and I will make a Frankenstein weaving across the entire wall. And like it's from far away. If you notice, all the office pictures are from fairly far away. Because I'm like, if I get close to the wall, people are gonna say, "What are you doing?" If I get close, they're gonna see the light reflecting off all the staples and all the pins keeping it together.
Oh yeah, I'm looking at it now. Yeah, it is quite far away.
That is a good distance. Let me take a quick picture of it while you're going through questions, so you can see how different things are.
Oh god, I mean, it is quite fun to see it updating piece by piece. I mean, your keyboard was on a box, and your mouse was on the computer.
Yeah,
but, now you have a desk, that's a bonus. Yeah,
what I learned was that because I have an IKEA center not far from where I live, probably a little over half an hour. And the desk was, so I was like, oh, the desk might be, a few days. The desk took a month to send. And I was so perplexed about why this was. I got a, like one of those Carlby countertops. I know it's like a popular setup where you just get the two Alexa drawers, put them together, and then you plop the countertop on it. And I didn't know why it was taking a month to send it. And apparently there were, I guess, wildfires or something in Sweden. There was something that hit like wherever IKEA gets some of its wood from. I guess it got disrupted by some kind of wildfire. And so instead of being like, oh, I'll have my desk ready to go this week, it's like, oh, it'll be a month. And so I'm sitting there feeling bad because it's like I can't be sitting here. I need to do some work on the video. So I set up my stool box computer setup. It's like so I could do something. Yeah. Here's I guess here's the close up of the
Oh my god. Yeah, you can see the staples.
Yeah, that one section is because there was some wall there, and so I cut one of them apart, and they used it as like a linchpin for their parts. You could see all the pins holding the sides together.
Oh god, yeah, it's amazing. I love it.
Yeah, it feels very appropriate when I'm just kind of slapping everything I have together.
Oh god, it's breaking down this professionalism of these videos. Like, I had to make a script and everything's stapled to the wall.
My people have asked about audio equipment. I know that's probably not your question, but my because people are like, oh, what microphone setup do you use? I'm using an XLR, but it's for guitar amps.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah, what I'm recording is supposed to be used for a guitar.
Okay.
It has because I was talking to an audio engineer friend of mine, and he was like, "What the fuck is that?" Because it has dials on it, and the dials move when I speak. It looks like something from the 50s.
Oh, nice.
Do I still have? Oh, cool! I do have it. There you go. There's my audio equipment. It's hard. Those large yellow dials look like they're radiating me.
Did the sticker come with it, or was that yours?
Oh no, I put the sticker on later. Okay. The up all night, tired all day sticker. Because when I'm editing, I could just look at it and think about my life.
Oh, this is fantastic. I love it so much. Oh god. Oh jeez. And I'm sure there's another question you've been asked thousands of times. But
Sure.
I'm going to try and I'm going to have a stab at the answer. I'm going to try and predict it. So I'm going to ask you why the night.
Ooh,
why
what's
the night?
What's your prediction?
My guess is you didn't want to show your face, and you kind of wanted something simple. That's my guess, because I've heard people, I've spoken to other people like Only Black Mage and Rags, and they're like, yeah, I just wanted an icon, something memorable but clean and simple and sharp, but not my face, because who cares?
Kind of
thing.
My thought wasn't really anonymity, being anonymous.
Okay.
Initially, later on, I was like, yeah, it's probably a good idea, but it was more because I would see the like the channels who have not even JonTron. I'm just gonna say JonTron clones, where you have the YouTuber and they have like their little profile picture and it looks like kind of like a Disney cartoon.
Oh yeah.
Or it looks like Nickelodeon, like fun and adventurous, and like I have a big smile. And then you click on the video and they look a little more goblin-like. Because like it's no matter what, like this is for everybody. It's like you can't look as cute and handsome as those drawings. It's just like, oh, they look like a fun guy, and then you click on the video, and it's like, oh no, like his teeth look sharp. Yeah, exactly. And so it's like, you know what? I shouldn't have anything resembling what I look like. Like I shouldn't have, like, no matter what, it has to either look like a disgusting goblin. And it's like, no, because people will say like that's gross.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was sitting there like, what do I make this? And I was still in school. I think I was in a I can't remember. I was in a few history classes, and I had a stack of books on my desk.
Mm-hmm.
And one of them I think was for the Battle of Hastings. It was something where it had it was like some Age of Empires knights going at it on the cover. And I was like, you know what, that'll work. I just looked at it and I was like, well, like there's a helmet, and it's like, yeah, that doesn't really. I was like, that's perfect. Like it's a really simple shape. No one else I can think of is using it. It's like that'll be fine.
Mm-hmm.
It's clean. It's identifiable. Perfect. I found out about Armored Skeptic later.
Okay.
And I was like, well, at least this was drawn and not made on Google Images, so I feel okay.
Mm-hmm. Did you do the drawing yourself, or is that outsourced?
No, that was outsourced. But there's been many interpretations of it since.
Mm-hmm. Even fan ones still pouring. I think I saw one of you punching a dog. Someone drew you.
Yeah, that was
uppercutting something. I can't remember what it was.
It was a dog. There was I was streaming a really questionable game from 2003 called Nosferatu something. It's like a Steam Greenlight game that was made in 2003. I don't know how to describe it.
Oh god.
It's like procedural, jump scare, fight, and it's like, okay. But there's these demon dogs in it.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized that the game tells you to pick up a sword instead of using your hands, but the hands stun lock the enemies. And so I realized it was a much better idea to just punch everything to death. And so people were they turn on the stream, and the first thing they would see is just these dogs being uppercut. It was like Cinderella Man just punching tons of dogs. And they're like, what is this? And so people are like, do you hate dogs? It's like, no. Why are you punching all the dogs? And so that's why he drew the dog uppercut.
Oh god.
I don't stream very often, and things like that is why.
Oh god. And I was looking at your Patreon earlier.
Mm-hmm.
And you're doing very, very well.
Yeah,
I won't go into the
terrifying.
specifics, but I just want to ask: is this your full-time job now, or did you have other things on the side?
It's my main job now. It used to be that I had my my main job was doing this on the side. But then when I realized I was going to be changing out and I needed to move, it was like, well, if I'm going to be doing this, I'm going to need a dedicated office for it. Because before I was recording, I had to do a lot of more ghetto room treatments than I have now. Because the last place I was recording, it was on hardwood. And so I had I had many laundry gorilla nests and bath towels on the floor. I got like cheapo Amazon, like the $5 foam, was putting it in corners and trying to like, because my old desk was kind of like a box with a hutch above it, so I had to like make a
Right.
box of foam behind the monitor, and like I was taking so many steps. At the same time, I was like, well, I also don't want to be doing this in the same room where I sleep. It's like
Yeah.
I need to separate them out so I don't go crazy.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I can understand your pain. I just moved into a flat here in Montreal, and I'm in the basement level, and it can be pretty noisy. And this flat is primarily, I think, like Indian people live here usually, and culturally they're particularly loud at night.
Yeah, I know there's an Indian
I don't know
family.
why.
Yeah, there's one living below me on one of the floors, because at first I was like, I don't know if they're living below me. Then one night I was smelling really strong spices and curry, and I was like, oh, they're cooking. But I have there's like one central like air vent, but I have a big air purifier by it now, so I don't. Cause it's like it'll be like overwhelming around like 7 p.m. It's like, oh, it's starting.
Yeah. Yeah, I've got my bed propped up against the door to try and block some of the noise. Just all this shambles trying to make everything functional. But
yeah, exactly. So I was like, because before I would have to do so many redos just for like echo, or I had a keyboard tray before, but it was a keyboard tray that should have died several years ago, so it would be rattling.
Oh, right.
So
okay.
I would have to, and because I do, impromptu audio recording, it might be they do this, they do, oh shit, I have to redo
it. Yeah.
So just go, and like, so it's right by the microphone. And so I was telling people, like, in the pitch video, like, I've had to remake takes because the audio is such an issue. It was stuff like that. Just decrepit, falling apart issues.
Yeah. Oh god, yeah. I know exactly what you mean. The first video I ever did for this channel was about where are we now? October. About a month ago or so, maybe a bit more. But I was living in a hostel, so like there was like drunken youths downstairs stomping around and cars whizzing past outside, and like this microphone propped up on a bunk bed. Just like, please shut up, I want to get this done. But that's life, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't know how you could even do it in that, because that would be that'd be so frustrating.
Yeah, I mean, I just dropped the sensitivity down a bunch on my microphone and kind of went for it.
Yeah,
but
like,
I mean, at that point,
right
I was
up on it.
Yeah, exactly. And I thought I need to get content out there. Have to start making something rather than just sitting on it for ages. So I thought, forget it. I'll go for it.
Yeah, that's the thing though. Once you've lived through those trials, when you start to get nice stuff, then you can appreciate it more. Where it's like, oh, I could work with this.
Yeah, and light up amps.
It's like, well, yeah, the foam may be Frankenstein, but it's not the gorilla nest on the floor. No, it's not the rattling keyboard tray. It's like, I could work with this.
And from your experience as a YouTuber, what is there any particular advice or words of wisdom or things to be cautious about that you would advise new YouTubers? Anything that springs to mind?
Thank you, new YouTubers, because boy, it's getting hard out there for those boys and girls. I guess cautionary would be, don't overbrand. That might sound strange. It's like YouTube Creator Studio. It has advice that's like, use audience fun words for your audience. Use these keywords in your video. Do calls to action. Make sure to brand your channel. And I think some people put way too much emphasis on branding who they are very, very early. What I mean by that is you might have someone who wants to do a video about their opinion on what's a controversy? Battlefield Battlefield 5
Okay.
controversy video.
Yep.
And you could put in Battlefield 5 controversy or my opinion on it, whatever. You could probably get views. But what people are doing, instead of making their title the subject, they're naming it, the video will be named like whatever their show is named, and they'll have like a dash, and then they'll have like their channel name, or they'll have like the name of the of whatever they're calling their series. So instead of like my opinion on Battlefield 5, it'll be something like The Wolf Show, Wolf Strikes Down Battlefield 5. And someone's like, and the thumbnail just has like this screaming wolf at like this big Battlefield 5 logo. And you have some random guy on YouTube and he's like, what the fuck is that? Like, I'm not clicking on that. Like, I don't know what the hell that is. Because they'll see people like John Tron or whoever who've established themselves who can do that whenever they want. So like, they can put down, or Red Letter Media, they can put half in the bag and people know what they're getting. They're already established out there. But when people are just starting, it's probably not the best idea to go crazy with that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Because when I've had people ask about like, oh, how did you get views on these obscure games? It doesn't make sense. It's like, well, I was really uncreative and I couldn't think of a fun show name, so I just put EVE Online review, Space Station 13 review. I don't know what to call it. It's like the Mandalore me views. Like, I don't know. And so I would just put whatever game review, and then that got new people watching.
Mm-hmm.
Because they would look up into YouTube whatever game review, and there it is. They didn't see like Night Opinion, the spooky dart game. It's like, who is that in the thumbnail? It's like
Mandalore smashes social justice warriors in
basically. It's
Battlefield 5. Yeah,
it's like
trigger warning.
If you make it too elaborate, if you name your show really early, people aren't going to know. So like, you have to start somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying like people shouldn't do nothing creative with it, but just not to go overboard. Like, make sure people have an idea of what they're about to be seeing. Like, if you get established, it's like you could probably break off into that kind of thing. But if you're brand new to it, it's going to be a lot harder to get people to stumble upon your video. And your initial fan base, viewer base, is going to be people just stumbling upon it.
Yeah. Like, I suddenly got the feeling that I need to review my channel now, because you talked about hyphens and names. So I'm gonna have a look at that later and see.
Like,
maybe I'm doing it myself.
Maybe like, it's not like, as long as people know roughly what they're getting into.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's fine. Like, I'm sure you have. I looked earlier. I think you have like creator interview with etc. With
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and it's like, that's fine because people know what they're like. People like, oh, it's an interview with this. I get it. It's not searching for pixels smashes dicks with rags. It's like, what does that mean? Like, what the fuck are they fighting? Oh, it's it's an interview. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe that would be better clickbait. I don't know.
I mean, for Rags, that'd probably work for his for his audience.
I don't know much about him, but yeah.
Oh god! And is there anything out of curiosity? Say you're not making your videos, you're not playing games. What do you do in your spare time that isn't video gaming?
I used to train horses, but I haven't. I haven't had. Yeah, that was like, first it was a hobby, and then it was a job, and it was a hobby again. Just because it was pretty fucking funny. But I guess the issue with being involved with horse stuff was that I guess all the Red Dead news is really annoying because people on Twitter keep talking about the horse testicles shrinking in weather. And it's like, I don't need this. Like, I'm working here to get away from that, and now they're putting it in video games. It's fantastic. But I mean, man, I don't know. I try to like, I go with the guys every so often. Might take my girlfriend somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I used to, what's the word? I guess my life was so consumed by work for the past few years. It was
Hmm.
like video games are kind of relaxing, but I would take a variety of like, I might go mini golfing, might go on a jet ski somewhere, but it wasn't like I never had an established other hobby.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like I still like circle of friends and stuff, but it wasn't like I had a particular passion like cycling or anything like that. I'd be like, oh,
Hmm.
we might go hiking sometime, but that's kind of far. Maybe we'll just see another movie this weekend.
Yeah, yeah. I get you. I get you.
Yeah. I'm trying not to get into tabletop stuff because I know that'll drain my wallet and my time.
Oh God, yeah.
It's like wow, I have time. It's like I should see what's happening on the Games Workshop website. Wow, those are expensive. Never mind. Wow, that looks like Age of Sigmar. I forgot why I left.
Yeah, one of my mates, he really got into collecting board games, and now it's like an entire wall is just board games, like some are not even opened, you know.
Yeah, I know someone like that where it's like they'll just buy it and they don't even have like a group of people that large to play it with where it's like, oh, 8 players and up. It's like, do you know 5? And it's like it's unwrapped on the shelf and they're buying like the new edition of it.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, whatever. Like they can look nice. There's some nice boxes, but I guess I think a little more practically.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There was I've got one last question that I have that I would like to ask you. Then there's a few that I've taken from your community, but some I don't understand. Maybe you won't understand, but I thought I'd ask them anyway.
Yeah, sure.
But the last one that I'm interested in is the comedy that you have in your videos. To me it seems like quite a dry, witty humor.
Yeah.
Is there any particular? I don't like the word inspiration, but any particular comedy shows or stand-ups or anything like that you take note of, or anything that you like in particular?
Not particularly. I mean, it would. So much of my channel was born out of time constraints and just practicality. It's like, oh, I'm editing it, and so I'm not. I was really trying to avoid the YouTuber stereotype, I guess.
Okay.
I would see because when I sat down to make the later review videos, I was like, well, what do I not want? I don't want many children watching these videos. And what gets kids on YouTube really hyped up? It's like, whoa, we got a crazy game! It takes place in the darkest depths of the ocean. And wow, there's something scary down there. And I'm like, oh, fuck, I can't do that. It's like, how will I get kids to not watch the video? I'll make myself really dry and I'll just sit here like I'm talking to someone at work. Like I'm talking to someone, like a friend at a bar. I'll just sit here and I'll just talk about the game. And so, when you're talking to someone, you just make little jokes sometimes, like, oh, I was like this and that. And so I just kind of made it more conversational. Mainly birthed from the idea of combating children. It's like, well, if I sit here and I just talk and I'm just talking about adult stuff, making little references to older events and stuff that older people would know, kids are going to go like, what is this? Like, I want to watch this.
Yeah.
And they'll stop watching.
Man, space hoppers.
So what'd you say?
Space hoppers, man. Yeah. Remember those? They were great.
It's like, wow, it was like that episode of Mr. Ed we all know and love. So it's like, well, if I don't use like not ADHD editing, don't have stuff flying over the screen constantly, it's like most kids are gonna get bored and they'll leave. Like the game should be boring in the first place, but there are very talented people on YouTube who can make any awful game the most entertaining video on earth. So it's like that won't stop it.
Yeah.
So by doing that, it's like, well, the game looks complicated and dry. The man sounds dry. I don't want to stick around. But for the you stick around, it's like, hey, there's a few jokes. This is okay.
Yeah, there's some wit thrown in here. You might enjoy it.
Yeah, it's like, well, I learned about a game at the end of the day. If I didn't laugh, it's like, well, I learned about this weird game. Maybe I'll pick it up sometime.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So that's my questions. And before we did this chat, I went to your Discord channel, and I asked if anybody had any questions, just in case I run out of time. So
right.
I made your community do the work for me.
That's fine,
because I'm pretty lazy. So I didn't write the names down, but whatever. Question number 1: do you have any intention of doing a video on Arcanum at some point? Sorry if I mispronounced that.
No, I know what you're talking about. Arcanum, the Steamworks. Maybe down the line. I actually know someone who is likely going to have a video on it, I think on Halloween. So that will probably tide a bunch of people over.
Okay.
But maybe down the line.
Okie dokie. Okay, next one. What is your main motivation for starting the channel?
Well, the first one was it'd be pretty funny to make fun of this video game. I guess the new one was well, the Division video was when the transition began, because it'd be fun to make fun of this game and warn people that this game is going to be bad.
Okay.
Because that was in beta, and I was like, oh, people are going to hate this. Because when I made the video then, people were arguing with me in the comments, like, it's going to be great, like, fuck you, and then that game died quickly. But then it bounced back. And then they announced the Division 2 right when it bounced back. So, cool, Ubisoft. I guess the motivation was just it'll be fun. It was just a fun hobby.
Mm-hmm.
Like, let me find the strangest games I can. Let me take a game that looks like Microsoft Excel and put production value into the video for it.
Yeah.
Let me put effort into talking about a game called Aurora 4X that maybe 400 people have played. This is a game that looks like a spreadsheet. It looks visually awful.
Yeah, Space Station 13.
Yeah. Just games that's like you wouldn't expect to see anything remotely presentable on. Because by nature, the games are not well made for videos.
I mean, you've even established that usually in the first 20 seconds of your video, you just take a clip of gameplay with no commentary and it just speaks for itself half the time. You think, okay, right, here we go. Yep.
Well, Space Station, I tricked people because I had the screen zoomed in on the fun pixel characters, and then later, about a few minutes into the video, I'm like, oh, I should show you the whole screen, and then it zooms out. You see the big wall of text on the right. You see all the buttons. You see the F12 keys up on the top of it. I was like, oh, this is the game. There's all your buttons down there. This isn't a fun little side scroller. This is more like a mud with some arrow keys.
Tricked you.
Yeah.
Good.
So just stuff like that. Like even the Aurora video, I started with a clip from The Expanse, where it has that really exciting space battle. And they use a really pretty 4X thumbnail, whoa, spaceships fighting. No, here's the game. It looks like radar.
Yeah. Oh god, that's amazing.
Yeah, so I just thought it'd be funny, basically.
Okay, next one. What's the worst game you have ever played?
Oh man, there's so many. Because there's some that are you have Duke Nukem Forever, which is just miserable, but it's competent.
So bad.
Yeah, it's a miserable game, but it's a competent game where it's it'll function, it won't crash, and it'll unfortunately play all the way to the end. But then I've played games that are made by I don't want to say crazy people, but it's like those passion games that are made by one very disturbed man. And I'll play a copy of that, and sometimes I'll be like, this is weird and interesting. Then other times it's like, oh, this is a terrible game.
Okay.
Limo of the Lost is pretty objectively horrible. But I really like that game. I don't hate that game, but that might be one of the worst I've played. It crashes constantly. There's very little logic to the game.
Mm-hmm.
Half the assets are stolen, if not more. The puzzles that don't make sense, the puzzles where you have to click a random spot on the screen, the screaming, all the close-ups, the audio cutting out. a voice screaming "Join us now" every 70 seconds. Yeah, that's probably the worst game I've played. That could say this is a video game. Other than that, I just say, like, the really bad ones that say, "Oh, this was an experiment." Like this was someone's experimental indie game. As far as something that got like put on boxes on stores, that's probably the worst one.
Oh god, and I loved at the end how like all that game was terrible. Then the final scene is like a really, really like the time limit is super, super short to functionally finish the game.
Yeah, or game over.
Yeah,
you have a minute. Yeah. And then you get your sing along at the end. It's like, well, okay.
Oh, I love that. That's actually pretty good.
Yeah,
I like the sing along.
It's like, of course.
Yeah.
After all that, of course it ends with a song.
Yeah. Playing the piano. Oh god. Okay. And I've got my final question for you today, Mandalore. This means nothing to me. Maybe it means something to you. Or maybe not. I don't know. Can Mandy make 8-Bit Brody tell me what product he uses?
I don't. Okay, I know 8-Bit Brody's another YouTuber. And when he says product, I'm going to guess it means hair product. And I actually don't know what he uses for his hair. He has magnificent hair, but I don't know what he uses to style it.
What's his name? 8-Bit Brody?
Yeah.
Okay, I haven't heard of 8-Bit Brody.
He is a smaller YouTuber, but he's the world's most popular unknown YouTuber. I don't know how else to put it.
Oh wow, he has got magnificent hair. Oh my god.
Yeah, I don't know what product he uses though.
Okay, I'll try and send him a message and see if I can find out. In the next interview.
It might be protected. He might be a good interview boy.
Oh god. Oh. Okay, well, I think we'll call it a day there. Thank you very much for your time, Mandalore. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Yeah, you too.
Yeah, I wish you all the best, and if you ever need a hand with anything, give me a shout, man.
Yeah, same.
Cool, cheers, thank you.
Thank you so much.